If your ads are getting leads, but those leads aren't turning into serious sales calls, this is probably why. You may be training the algorithm to find people who click, but not people who buy. It sounds like a small difference, but it changes everything because clicking isn't buying. Booking a call doesn't mean they'll show up, and showing up doesn't mean they're ready to make a serious decision. That's the part most people miss. Your ads may not be broken. Your client acquisition system may be teaching the algorithm to optimize for the wrong outcome. And once you see that, the whole problem starts to make a lot more sense. Most business owners think the problem is lead flow. They say, we need more leads, we need cheaper leads, we need more book calls. And I get it. If the calendar is empty, more leads feels like the obvious answer. But a lot of the time, more leads just exposes the real problem faster. Because if people booking calls don't trust you, if they don't understand the offer, if they're not properly qualified, if they need to be convinced from scratch, then more leads won't create more revenue. It just creates more noise, more admin, more follow-up, more no-shows, more, let me think about it. And this is why so many good business owners start thinking they're bad at marketing, when really they've just been sold the wrong scoreboard. Because the goal isn't more leads. The goal is better fit people arriving with more trust, more clarity, and more intent. Here's the first mental shift. Leads are not the asset. Trust is the asset. A lead is just someone who raised their hand. That's useful. I'm not saying leads don't matter, but a lead doesn't mean they trust you. It doesn't mean they believe your process. It doesn't mean they understand why your solution is different. It doesn't mean they're financially ready. And it definitely doesn't mean they're ready to buy. This is why two businesses can generate the same number of leads and get completely different results. One business gets 100 leads and closes nothing. Another business gets 20 leads and closes 3 clients. Same platform, same type of ad, completely different outcome. Why? Because one business is collecting names. The other is building belief before the call. That's the real game. The job of your funnel isn't just to collect leads. It's to build belief before the sales conversation happens. Most high-ticket funnels have what I call a trust gap. And this is a big one. The trust gap is the gap between what the prospect currently believes and what they need to believe before they feel comfortable buying. 1, you understand their problem. 2, your process makes sense. And 3, this could work for someone like them. Now, here's where most funnels break. They ask for the call before those beliefs have been built. So the landing page says, book a call, but the prospect is still thinking, who are you? Why should I trust you? How is this different? What actually happens next? Is this just going to be another sales pitch? So they might book because they're curious, but curiosity is weak. Trust is stronger. And when a funnel relies on curiosity instead of trust, you get weak calls. You get people who don't show up. You get people who show up guarded. You get people who need half the call just to understand the basic problem. That is exhausting. And the good news is, it's fixable. This is where most people think about ads the wrong way. They think paid ads are just there to get the click. That's it. Someone sees the ad, they click, they book, job done. But for high-ticket businesses, ads need to do more than drive traffic. They need to build familiarity. They need to shape beliefs. They need to pre-frame the problem, and they need to show proof. They need to make your thinking visible. So by the time someone reaches your booking page, they don't feel completely cold. They feel like they already know how you think. And that changes the entire sales call. Instead of the call starting with, so what do you do? It starts closer to, I've watched your videos, and I think this is what we need. That is what you want. Not because it makes selling manipulative, actually the opposite. It makes selling more honest. The prospect is more informed. They understand the problem better. They understand your process better, and they make a clearer decision. That's better for everyone. So the better way is not to send every cold person straight to a call. The better way is to build an authority layer before the call to action. Here's what that means. You take a focused audience of people who are likely to be a good fit, not millions of random people, usually a focused micro audience of maybe 50 to 100,000 people. Then you put the right content in front of them repeatedly, but not random content, not motivational content, not content that gets views from the wrong people. Strategic authority content. Content that does 4 things. It names the real problem. It explains why the old way is failing. It gives the prospect a new way to think. And it shows them what a better system looks like. That's where the aha moments happen. Because the prospect doesn't just learn a tactic. They see their situation differently. They stop thinking, I need more leads. And they start thinking, I need a better system for turning attention into trust. Trust into book calls, and book calls into clients. That shift matters. Because once someone sees the problem differently, they become much more open to a different solution. And by the way, this doesn't mean you need to become a full-time content creator. You don't need to post 12 times a day. That's not the point. The point is to use the right authority assets in the right order in front of the right people. That is very different. Quick note before we keep going. If this sounds like what's happening in your business, there's a link below for a business growth audit. That's where we look at your offer, funnel, ads, follow-up, and sales path to find the biggest leaks. No need to click it now. Finish the video first. Right, back to the system. There are 3 simple things you can look at in your own business. And I don't want this to feel like a huge homework assignment. Think of it as a quick diagnostic. First, look at what your ads are asking for. Are they asking cold people to book immediately? Or are they giving people a reason to trust you first? If the only message is book a call, you may be asking too soon. Second, look at what happens before the call. Does the prospect see your best thinking before they speak to you? Do they understand your process? Do they see proof? Do they know who this is for and who it's not for? Or are they arriving on a call with almost no context? Third, look at what your current funnel is rewarding. Is it rewarding cheap clicks, cheap leads, easy bookings, or is it rewarding stronger intent? Because whatever you reward, the algorithm will go find more of. That one sentence can save you a lot of wasted ad spend. Whatever you reward, the algorithm will go find more of. So make sure you're rewarding the behavior that actually leads to revenue, not just behavior that makes your dashboard look busy. Here's a simple way to diagnose this. Look at your last 5 sales calls. How many understood your method before the call? How many had already seen proof? How many came in with a clear reason for why they wanted your help specifically? If the answer is almost none, your ads may be generating interest, but your system isn't building enough belief before the call. And that's a very different problem to solve. Because now you're not asking, how do I get more leads? You're asking, how do I help the right people understand, trust, and qualify themselves before they ever speak to me? That is a much better question. One simple example of this is a small booking commitment. In one of our systems, we tested a $1 booking fee. Now, most people hear that and immediately think that will reduce conversions. And yes, it definitely did. But that's not always a bad thing. For a high ticket offer, your goal is not to maximize the number of people who book. Your goal is to increase the percentage of book calls that are serious. That's a different game. A $1 booking fee is not about the dollar. It's about the behavior. It turns a free action into a tiny buying action. It creates a little bit of commitment. It filters out some of the people who are never serious. And it gives the ad platform a better signal. Because now you're not tracking people who clicked. You're tracking people who are willing to take a small step with money attached. That matters. To be clear, I'm not saying everyone should blindly add a booking fee. That's not the takeaway. The bigger point is the principle. Don't remove all friction just because someone told you friction is bad. In low-ticket impulse buying, friction can hurt. In high-ticket sales, the right friction can protect your time and improve quality. Sometimes friction isn't the enemy. Sometimes friction is the filter. And this is also why better ads alone are not enough. We've seen this pattern with clients. One client had already spent thousands on ads before working with us and hadn't generated a single booked call. The issue wasn't that the business had no credibility. The issue was the positioning, messaging, and funnel weren't turning attention into trust. Once the positioning and authority process were fixed, the system generated 11 new clients from $1,329. Another client generated over 250,000 euros in 90 days. But again, it wasn't because of one magic ad that carried the whole business. And I'm not sharing those numbers so you think one campaign magically fixes everything. That's not the lesson. The pattern is what matters. In both cases, the results came from the system around the ads, not just the ads themselves. That's the part people often miss when they look at results. They ask, what ad did you run? But the better question is, what system did the ad send people into? Because ads are not the machine. Ads are the fuel. Running more ads into a broken funnel is like pouring gas into a car with no wheels. Technically, you added fuel, but you're still not going anywhere. When the machine works, fuel helps you go further, faster. So here's the simple framework. Build authority before you ask for the action. Qualify before they hit your calendar. Fix the system before you scale the spend. That's it. Authority before action, qualification before calendar, system before scale. Authority before action means you build trust before the call. Qualification before calendar means you don't let everybody book just because they clicked. And system before scale means you don't keep increasing ad spend into a broken journey. You fix the part first, the offer, the message, funnel, pre-frame, follow-up, sales assets, and retargeting. Then you scale what's working. And this is the part that should give you hope, because most businesses aren't that far away. They don't need to burn everything down. They don't need to become a full-time content creator. They don't need to hire 5 different freelancers and hope those people magically connect the dots. They usually need the right pieces connected in the right order. That's fixable. And by the way, this is what we do every day at Processes for Profits. We help established coaches, consultants, and expert-led businesses connect the offer, authority content, funnel, follow-up, ads, and sales path into one client acquisition machine. So if your business already has a high value offer, but client acquisition still feels too inconsistent, there's a link below for a business growth audit. We'll help you see where the leaks are and whether building the machine around your offer makes sense. But either way, remember this: more leads won't fix a broken journey. The right system turns the right attention into the right clients, and the simple pre-call system that fixes it.